social media archiving pursuant to the Michigan Freedom of Information Act. The other couple of things was, we did get the invoice from Tim's Lawn for the mulch.
The estimate.
The estimate. And, sorry, yeah, not the invoice. And, the quote, although not in form, I spoke to, Dominic at DT yesterday, and he told me 6,000 to 8,000, and then forgot to add something, and the total come out higher, 20,000, 129.05. And that was, that's on one of the agenda items for the electrical for the park. If there's no discussion, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the additions.
I'll make that motion.
A second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Moving on to item C, guest speaker, none here. There are no guest speakers tonight, so we will move on to the consent agenda. Item number 1 on the consent agenda, approval to approve the Township Board minutes. The regular meeting,
Just don't forget this.
yep, the regular meeting of Wednesday, June 11th, 2025 at 7:30, the special meeting Monday, June 30th, 2025 at 12 p.m., and the special meeting minutes for Monday, June 24th, 2025 at 6 p.m. Approval of the treasurer's reports, the reconciliation of tax accounts 0143 for June 2025, the reconciliation of the general checking 4183 for June 25 cash. Is that right?
Actually, that should have been on there, deletions of the treasurer's reports.
We got a month ahead last time. We're usually a month behind. And so next month it'll be the June ones, because I don't get the bank statements and
Right,
everything
right.
until the first that first week in the month.
Okay,
So I got us 2 caught up at the
so
last meeting.
when we approve the consent agenda,
So those have to be
we'll have the
deleted out,
motion
the
that we'll have
treasurer's
to-
reports.
That's A and B, or actually, is that all of June, the treasurer's reports?
Yep,
All of them.
All of
Okay.
the treasurer's reports.
Delete. Okay, approval of the clerk's reports, revenue expenditure report for June 2025, the approval of paychecks, payroll dates from June 2025 for the net total amount of $20,780.60. Paychecks direct deposited 432 through 464, approval of the accounts payables, none open to be paid in June, $246,836.42 already paid, 43 checks, 22,640 through 22,674, and electronic funds transfers 363 through 370. No tax disbursements, with a grand total of payables being 246,832.40.
3642.
What is it? Oh, so it's the top of the 246,836.42. Moving on to correspondence, the fire runs from the fire department. Hang on, let me get into that. Get down to this. Cottrellville, we had a total monthly runs from the fire authority of 57. Cottrellville having 8 medical emergencies, 1 power line down, and 1 motor vehicle accident. I do not have the report for this quarter yet from Ira. So that's the report from Chief Slankster. They're doing a great job. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda with the deletion of the treasurer's reports as we are a month ahead?
I will motion.
I'll second.
All in favor by a roll call vote, please.
Greg?
Yes.
Angela, yes. Sarah?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Motion carries. Moving on to item E, open session. I will open the public comment on the agenda at 7:37. Anyone wishing to address, please come forward. We have Neil McKenzie from 7505 River Road, requesting to address the board on a stipulated supplemental order for enforcement of the consent judgment.
Yes, Neil McKenzie, 7505 River Road. I want to speak about the consent stipulated, let me get the right. Stipulated supplemental order for enforcement of consent judgment. So the neighbors and I have been complaining with the township since 2002 about the activities at 2022 at the AJ Salt Docks. They're not authorized to have outdoor music. It took a couple years for Mary Agnes to put the approval on to get to the circuit court for enforcement. So that happened on April 10th, 2024. The board voted for that to be taken on by the township attorney. Since then, there's been multiple delays, negotiations without involving the neighbors. The agreement was basically done without the board members being involved, and the neighbors were never asked. So it's not in the best, this agreement is not in the best interest of the neighbors that complain. As a matter of fact, Mr. Abbey, I don't know if you negotiated with the Liquor Control Board about doubling the outdoor space that is approved in that area. Is that true?
No,
Because
I've never talked to the Liquor Control Commission.
well, their approved space was 1,000 square foot.
That's what I'm done talking.
Anyway, so that was part of this agreement that was done. Also, the agreement didn't take in consideration the zoning board, back in 1984, that property was a Class B non-conforming use, and they petitioned to be a Class A non-conforming use. And there was two stipulations. They couldn't expand more than 5,000 square feet, and there couldn't be any additional noise in the neighborhood. That was not part of any discussion or negotiated with. So the zoning board, it should go before the zoning board, this agreement. So I don't feel that this, the resolution that is put out for the board members to sign today states the consent judgment was signed by legal counsel without formal approval or vote by the board. Because you guys weren't a part of this agreement. That's wrong. It's not one person that makes decisions, it's the whole board. And none of you, and correct me if I'm wrong, have had any discussions about this matter for the neighborhood.
Thank you.
So I'm asking the
Is there
board,
anyone else that would like to speak?
I'm gonna pass out the documents from the court record and all the
Thank you, Mr.
information for this
McKenzie.
court.
Thank you, Mr. McKenzie.
I'm gonna finish.
It's 3 minutes. Thank you, Mr. McKenzie.
That agreement
We have a
was-
full agenda this evening. Thank you.
I'll yield my 3 minutes to Mr. McKenzie, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
That is not allowable. Thank you, Mr. McKenzie.
So I'm gonna ask the board to please table the vote today.
Mr. McKenzie.
Take time to review the documents that I'm gonna provide to you.
Thank you, Mr.
Have an
McKenzie.
interview with the neighbors and the bar owner, and let's have a full understanding of this
Thank you, Mr. McKenzie.
agreement. And one more thing, the agreement was actually signed
Mr.
by the
McKenzie.
township attorney. and
Someone
it's-
else would like to speak, Mr. McKenzie.
And it
Please take
states-
your seat.
Hey, Neil, how about, can you just provide them and we'll look
I
at
will,
them
but just
while
one more
we're-
Thank
point.
you. Thank you.
Township attorney Rob Goldenbogen signed with consent. So this agreement was signed by a direction of someone on this board.
Thank you, Mr. McKenzie. Have a seat. We'll review your documents.
I'm Donna Kitzman. I'd like to ask the board to each one answer individually to what he just gave the information. Do you all agree with the chairman not letting him speak? Or do you agree with your citizen here having an opportunity to present something that is obviously needing to be addressed by the whole board? Would you please do that?
We did allow him to speak.
You
We
didn't
have a
let
full
him
agenda
finish.
this
No, you
evening.
didn't. I want to know individually, you do the individual call to get answers from each individual where they stand. What does each individual stand with what he was not allowed to do?
I
Will you take a roll call,
I will
please?
speak to that, and it is in our, put together policies that they have 3 minutes to speak during.
That's just somebody like me coming up. He has an issue that's been around for a long time. I'm very disappointed to see a board that isn't standing for the people.
Thank you. Anyone else? I will close the open session at 7:43. Moving on to the building report, the board committee and department reports, the building report.
They did not provide.
He didn't provide one this month. I will, get one and then, email everybody so that they can see that. I know last week that Kathy was on vacation, so that may have been an issue. So, moving on to unfinished business, we've tabled item number 1, the proposal from Tex MyGov and other competitors until December 2025. We've tabled the review of the park building project bids. And so we have the new bids, and that's not under new business. So, if you've all received a copy of the bids, I'll open this up for discussion. If there's any questions, after reviewing the bids the first time, we had missed a paragraph, including the electrical and the HVAC. So we had closed that bid and reopened it back up with the new stipulation, and we had 4 bids, I believe. One of them was disqualified because they didn't include the electrical and HVAC on that bid. One was $248,000. The other one is a little bit, hang on, so we have, let me get to them here. Great Lakes Bay Construction, they were at $283,400. Sterling was at 142. They were the ones that I believe were disqualified because they did not include the additional items that were sent out for bid. Let's see. And then we have Osterlin Construction, who was the most complete bid. Included some additional things in there and kept under budget. His bid included a separation wall for the ambulance and fire truck bays from the other part of the building. Include the electrical, the HVAC. Union Properties came in at $178,207. They did not include full installation. They didn't include the ceiling insulation, only the spray foam wall insulation. So they came in at $178,207. The most complete bid to finish the building to usable status is the 197.
Do the other ones include the lean-to?
The what?
The lean-to, because Osterlin's.
Yes,
Because I'm not seeing that under
Osterlin's includes the
the
lean.
lean-to, but the other ones,
Don't? See, I didn't catch that. I was looking at the,
unless I'm over,
so, well, I mean, regardless, Osterlin is the most complete bid at the 197,765.
So I will say though, Union does have ceiling, cellulose to ceiling after ceiling is finished. So they do have insulation on the ceiling.
After, well, is it after it's finished? Because
I don't know what after it's finished means.
that's under Sterling's, you said?
No, Union Properties, that's the very last one in here.
the garage doors, do they clean? Garage door openers.
The,
Beside the ceiling, labor materials, general electrical lighting, meeting code requirements, radiant tube heating. Beside no plumbing, prep for bathrooms, dividing wall, spraying on the walls, insulation of spray foam walls remaining, cellulose in attic, insulation of shed, R21 foam in the walls, concrete floor shed area, plastic wire, 6x6 wire. Siding window, I was looking for the garage doors. Yeah, then he includes the garage doors with side mount openers for the two bays for the ambulance and and the fire truck. And we look at here, can 40 amp circuit, I'm just trying to compare the lean-to, the single pull switch. We go to Union,
Unions, I only see one garage door,
correct,
and
and we have 4.
Osterland's has 2 garage doors included.
Well, they have, two 10 by, oh, hang on. One 8 by 8 door, one 10 by 10 door, and two 12 by 12 doors, so he has all 4 doors included.
When this was put on BidNet, or that's what it's called, right?
Yeah.
BidNet?
Yeah,
When it was put on BidNet, they all got the same thing,
Yes.
correct?
absolutely.
Why are all of these so drastically, so different? I don't,
I think it's just the way their software works when they print it out compared to what our
but they should have
form,
been
or our, not form, but
bidding
our
to what we put
document.
out there, though.
Right. Well, and that's what I
Where's
said.
the original bid? Is that
it in the
here?
book?
'Cause I
It should
don't-
be in the book.
Oh, this, yes, thank you.
I will mention
Not-
that out of the 3 or 4 bids that are in here, Osterland Construction was the only one that came to the site. He brought the electrician, who's actually,
I
he's
don't
used,
know if it actually is in
I don't
there,
think
Sarah.
it
I
is.
can go get a copy
he's,
if we
he's
need it.
used, he brought the electrician that the township has used, the electrician that is included in the bid is the same one that installed the generator. He's using local people for all of the work. And that kind of falls in line with the grant that we get if we get the T-Mobile grant, that falls in line with part of the requirements that we use local contractors. And it's part of the placemaking grant process, which we'll know in about 4 or 5 weeks if we get that grant. So,
So this bid that came in, this is the one that's the
I
closest?
will say that not a single, well, Union, I think, is the only one of them, only one of them used BidNet, the rest were received via, hand delivered
Yeah.
to the office.
Okay.
Envelope. So,
Are they all steel roofs? Like I see it on the one.
what's that?
Are they all steel roofs?
Yes, they're all steel. The buildings are completely steel. It's a pole building. When we started this process, we were gonna build a 40 by 30 barn. And we were gonna use ARPA funds to do that. Once the entities like the fire authority and the ambulance, the county ambulance, heard that we were building a building, they asked if we could expand it so we could include space. The fire authority wants to place a fire truck in our community. We have 7 firefighters who live within a mile of this building. And they can place one of their trucks in our building. They can get to it quicker and better service our community. It makes sense, so that's when we started talking about the grant process and applying for grants. We have a commitment from Tri-Hospital Ambulance. They've committed for $12,000 to pay up front for their 5-year contract for space. If they purchase a new ambulance and add it to the community, that will be stored here. At this time, they don't have an ambulance for it, but the way their ambulance service works is they have 3 ambulances in the local community here. They have one that's in East China, one in Ira, and one in Clay. When one of those ambulances goes on a run, and I'm sure everybody's seen their ambulances parked at either the church or the gas station, they would like a space for their EMTs or EMS workers to come in and pull in the winter where they're not cramped up in their ambulance for 6-7 hours sitting in a parking lot down the street. So that's when we started exploring the larger building. And if we were gonna build a building, then we might as well prep it for bathrooms for the park, because the park really doesn't have bathrooms. We've talked for a couple decades now of running electrical to the park.
So does that electrical that I saw, does that include going to the pavilion?
No, that will be done at a later date. This is phase one. We're not even completing the bathrooms in this phase.
Okay.
Phase two, we're working on applying for grants, and we'll be able to apply after we approve the new Parks and Rec plan, which should be ready and approved by the DNR, so we can start the grant cycle again in April. We can apply for some of the DNR trust fund grants to help complete some of these projects, as well as we're holding a Hoods, Tunes, and Brews event. We're gonna make that an annual event where we can start fundraising for more parks funds. And that's what some of these events will be about, is, you know, fundraising to help improve the parks.
Do we-
So,
The tri-hospital contribution, do we have to approve that? Because that's something that we have.
they've committed, I mean,
I just didn't know, I was reading through some things, and, maybe it was old information that we were talking about this, but I didn't know if we have to, formally accept it.
we don't have to formally accept those funds. They have committed to give them to us. So it's in there as part of the funding.
Okay.
We do not have to accept it. I mean, it might leave us a couple grand short, because without that, it takes it from 226 to 214, and then that brings us to the next issue of the electric. You know, he said it was 6,000 to 8,000 yesterday, and sent me a paper saying 20,000 today. If we do accept their funds and give them space for 5 years, that leaves us with another $9,000 for the Semco fee to run gas to the building. Plus whatever funds we collect that we can designate from Hoods, Tunes, and Brews. You know, we should probably generate roughly $10,000 in funds from the fundraiser. You know, we got some good things happening there. But yeah, I mean, and if we do get the 50,000 T-Mobile grant, which isn't listed on there, that covers a large portion of that, and that gives us a little more wiggle room. But I'm not counting on those, because it's a grant, you gotta get approved for it.
Did we, when we had the insurance people here, I don't know, I don't remember seeing it in there, but did we get an estimate of what the insurance would be on the new building?
I believe it's just,
Part of our,
I think it's part of,
I think it's included.
I think he said that would be, because we did ask him that question. And
Okay.
he said it's included.
okay.
Do you remember that? I know we
There
asked
was
him about
too,
it.
because there was a piece of property too, what was it, the one on,
The one on
that wasn't
Starkville,
included in on it, and he said that,
that's included too.
it includes all of the properties that
Yeah.
Cottrellville
So it's an
Township owns.
umbrella, okay.
So, and as that building progresses and we do phases, then we can get it approved for the fire department as ISO 9000, so that actually benefits the entire community. As far as, once you have that building as an ISO approved building, then it helps lower the insurance rates throughout the community, especially having them that close. One of the other things we can look at in the future is our contract is up next year with Ira Township, and now with having that building right here, and having the ability for the fire guys to jump in that truck right here, they can better cover the entire community rather than having to pay the extra money to IRA, which we pay every year. Not that I'm saying that that's what we want to do. I'm saying that that is something we can discuss down the road, where it would save us an additional, I don't know, $10,000 to $20,000 a year. So, I mean, it's a benefit all the way around.
So as far as like these bids go though, out of all of them, it's really this Osterlin that provides pretty much everything that we had asked for the best price.
Everything for phase one. That is a complete usable building that the fire truck can pull into and store a full tanker truck in there, heated, insulated.
And the Sterling was disqualified.
Sterling was disqualified, they didn't bid the full requirements.
Okay. Okay.
So, I mean, my recommendation is Osterlin Construction. As I said, he's pretty much the only one that came to the site. I think the others just bid it blind. So, and Osterlin Construction is local and he's using local contractors. which benefits the community because it keeps the labor and the money right here in the community. I have never met Scott Osterlin, who owns Osterlin Construction. I do know his cousin just on the CB radio from driving truck, because his cousin Ryan drives for Richmond Trucking, so I run into him every once in a while at the plants.
But he was out here?
Osterlin was out here. I didn't meet with him. I know Osterlin was out here because he called me. I was out of town that day. But I did see, I believe it's Jim Holt, I think was the electrician that installed the generator and does the electrical work for the town, has been doing the electrical work for the township. He's the one who bid the electrical. Because he did ask me, he said, well, what are we looking for? Are we looking for the minimum to meet code and to supply lights and electric to the building? I said, pretty much, we're not doing anything fancy right now. It's a pole building. Phase one is to get the building functional. Next year, we will hopefully have some more grant money. Jay DeBoer was gonna work on getting us some state funds from the appropriations. That didn't work this year. He had missed the deadline. But I've been told that we will be on the list to try and get appropriations for next year to help us with some of these projects. You know, if anybody's questioning, we have a very healthy general fund. We've designated ARPA funds to this project. We do not have a capital outlay fund currently. We have been a reactive township when it comes to repairs and upkeep of our capital assets. Later on, we have another agenda item to talk about creating the capital outlay fund or capital improvement fund with $100,000. That covers that gives us enough money for the construction. We designated the $20,000, a little bit more than $20,000 coming from this year's distribution from the St. Clair County Parks and Rec. Plus we have around $100,000 in the Parks and Rec fund right now, which we designated $50,000 towards this project. We have the funds to do this. It benefits the community. We have a full bid with a local contractor that makes the building usable. I mean, I don't know what you guys is, if you got some reservations.
I'm good with Osterlin. I mean, out of all of, I've read over them, and they're the most complete bid for.
Don't get me wrong,
price.
I'm sure the guys at Great Lakes Bay do a great job.
They're
$284,000 is not in the budget.
No, that one's a bit excessive.
I think Osterlin is probably, that's my opinion. I like the Osterlin bid.
It said it expires June sixth, do we know if that's true?
What's that?
It says it expires June sixth.
I called him, he just resubmitted the original bid because he was the full complete bid on the first go round, and I didn't feel bringing it to the board at that point with two incomplete bids because we actually missed a paragraph when we posted it on BidNet. So that's why we reposted it, re-put the job out for bid with the additional requirements, and Scott still was complete. The price didn't change. I called, he said, I want to resubmit the same bid, so the expiration is fine. I did confirm that. And it'll be set up, you know, I did discuss with him on the phone. I said, you know, this is phase one. We are not prepared for the preliminary, whatever you want to call it, the prep plumbing, because we don't know exactly where the county's gonna let us put the septic field in the well at yet. But he said, you know, that will be set up so that when we're ready for phase two, it will be easily.
Because we're not doing that right now.
No, we're not doing the well and septic right now.
This is just for the building.
This is just for the building. We are building the lean-to, which will encompass 2 bathrooms and a concession stand, which hopefully next year with more grant funds, we can work on placating that and getting some more placemaking grants. I'm waiting for a phone call back from the Michigan Association of Realtors who have offered some placemaking money. When I was in DC, I met with the national treasurer. When I was with Lisa McLean, and several people have offered to step up. We just have to wait for they have deadlines and they have openings. So when they open up, I turn in the paperwork and we get on the list and they look at our grant proposal. I think we have a really good shot at the T-Mobile one, put together a really good proposal. We did a video, did some renderings. We'll know on that one in about 4 weeks, I think the middle of August. If we don't get it, I will reapply, because it's every quarter. I'll just submit the same grant proposal for September 1st. And that's why they do it that way. They notify you a couple weeks before, so you can just reapply for the next quarter. They got like $25 million giving away at maximum of 50 grand a pop. So Marine City got one from the T-Mobile Hometown Grant last year or the year before. So, I have a good feeling about it. Actually, Trevor from Lisa McLean's office was gonna talk to the lobbyist for T-Mobile. We'll see how that goes. But Osterlin is the most complete bid, so I'll let somebody, if you wanna make a motion.
I'll make a
motion.
Oh, there you go.
Make a motion to approve the Osterlin bid.
I'll second it.
All in favor by roll call vote, approving the Osterlin bid.
Hold on.
You're right.
All right, Greg,
Yes.
Angela, yes, Sarah,
Yes.
Lisa,
Yes.
Chris.
Yes.
Motion carries. Congratulations to Osterlin Construction. Moving on to number 3, review of the application for utility billing adjustments for Miss Judy Kitching. Spoke with Nick, we looked at the bills, no water went down, we tabled this because we were gonna discuss crediting some of the sewer, portion of that bill. And, hang on, where's my pen? So I talked with, Nick from DPW, he explained nothing went down the sewer, so she was charged, I forget how many units, but her average, I think it was 16 units, and she averages 6,
14.
was it 14?
14 units on the last bill and 14 units on this bill,
And her average is 4 units.
about 4
Okay.
to 5.
20 minutes.
So it's 20 units, so I'll make a motion to credit 20 units, but 10 units at the old rate, because that was the new rate hadn't taken effect.
Correct.
So 10 units at the old rate and 10 units at the new rate. I'll make that motion.
Oh, yeah, 'cause it was February, right?
Correct.
They don't want it into effect?
So, I guess I should ask, is there any discussion or are there any other questions? I mean, we were just gonna get clarification on that from Nick from the last meeting.
Yeah.
Lisa,
No,
any
I
questions?
spoke to him too about it.
No, I thought last month that, I think we all felt the same way, we weren't sure what was going on.
Yeah.
Why it was so, why it
Yeah,
was
and there is
so-
a video of it, like the water rushing out, none of it,
Yeah,
None went down the
none of
sewer.
it was going into the sewer, and it's not, so the water, they're gonna have to pay for it, because we
Yeah.
and the citizens have already paid for the water,
yeah.
but I don't see any problem with, refunding her for the sewage part, because it's not physically costing us any
Just
money.
Right.
crediting her account, or are we going to refund?
And that's what we have to,
Oh,
I think,
all right, well then I might have
because
to.
how
amend
much
my
does that
motion.
break, I need my calculator, what does that break down to?
Oh, now you're gonna ask me
Oh, I
that.
don't.
I'm pulling a calculator out.
I don't remember what the old sewer rate was either.
There's a copy of both
Well, it's on
bills,
here.
Oh,
so
okay.
you should be able
So
to
it was
see what the old rate
$8.61
was
a
and what the new rate was.
Right, 861 a unit.
Okay, so. Wait, you says
I was just reading.
where did you get that from? Oh, there we go, that's what I was looking for. Do I have that? So the old one should be on here.
Well, so both bills show that same rate. And,
Were both those at the old rate?
and they look like that.
No, both of them were at the new rate. Cause this one was from May, this one,
But the rate.
The
down
new
there
rate took
says-
effect in April, correct?
But it's not written on the bill that way. They both say 861.
so that times the, 20 is 172. And we're gonna have to look into,
So you have 14 usage for the sewer at the rate of $8.61 per
Right.
unit.
Okay.
For that one, and then on this one it's 14 at,
861.
oh. you
Because
know
it was
what?
after
so
April.
we're gonna have, it just didn't get changed? No, they were billed it, but I'm saying like this,
No, because when we printed this bill out,
oh, it was in the new,
it was in the new format.
yeah.
So is this the new rate or the old rate?
This is the new one.
I've got it on my board if I need to get up and look.
Yeah, so with BSNA, when you change the bill format, it changes it
For the past.
for site-wide, for our whole site, so that even when we go in and print old bills, that stuff at the bottom will be what's on the
Yeah,
new
cause that's the new,
format.
yeah. It's not in the math equation of what happens, it's just
Right.
on the bill.
Okay,
So,
so,
well, we can just put down 10 units
At the new.
at the new and 10 units
At the old.
at the old, and we'll figure out the math.
And then
Yeah.
that is going to be somewhere around, you know,
100 and,
$200.
yeah, less than
About
that.
yeah,
Now, is it
less
a-
than 200.
yeah, was she asking for a credit or a refund?
She was asking for anything. She did not,
So at this point, I will tell you, this bill has been paid, but the new one has not.
so I say
So
credit.
if you can
I say
if we
credit.
credit, it'll help pay the new bill amount.
Then I'll amend my motion to credit 10 units at the old rate and 10 units at the new rate, applied to the current bill.
For credit her account. Okay. Are you making the
To-
motion?
Applied
What's
to
that?
the current bill. Hold
I'm
on.
just writing it.
So I need a second.
I'll second.
All right,
All in favor by roll call vote, please.
Greg,
Yes.
Angela, yes, Sarah,
Yes.
Lisa,
Yes,
and Chris.
Yes.
Motion carries. That finishes the unfinished business. Moving on to item H, new business. Item number 1, request to approve the establishment of a capital improvement fund in the amount of $100,000, sourced from the Township General Fund. This will support the construction of the new park building and will be reimbursed to the Township General Fund as grant awards are received. Those are called reimbursement grants, which I hate waiting for the opening so that I can start applying for some of the reimbursement grants. But that capital fund, that's where the grant money will come into, say, for park improvements. So, like if, for instance, we get the T-Mobile grant, that goes into that account because that's the capital outlay fund. And that money then gets dedicated directly to the new park building.
So, this capital improvement fund will always exist going forward.
This will always exist going forward.
We will use money out of it and then replace money into it as things come up
Correct.
going forward. So it's not necessarily just for the park building.
It's not just for the parks building. This has been an issue in this township for decades. As I said earlier, we've had a reactive budget and not a proactive budget. And this will come up shortly on another agenda item, is the parking lot, hasn't been repaired in the back for a few years. And it's a hazard. These things, when we need to do improvements or replace, the roof on the building, we haven't set aside a capital improvement program for when the roof on this building needs to be replaced. This capital improvement fund is for repairs and new construction of projects that benefit the taxpayers in the buildings. It's for upkeep, it's for building, it's a capital improvement fund.
So essentially, you want to put the $100,000 from the general fund
general
into
fund.
there, and it'll be a constant yearly moving thing as grants,
If-
money comes in, it goes in there, and when we need to make improvements to whatever it is we need to make improvements from, that's where it's gonna come from, and it's just gonna constantly.
Yes,
replace
it's
with
just gonna
grant
constantly come
dollars.
from the capital improvement fund. And every year I will designate, moving forward, a portion of the budget into that. That'll be a new fund that we can designate a portion. This year, depending on how things roll, we'll be in the black, we could be in the black as much as 100,000 or as little as 20,000 in the black. And by adding that into the budget, we can take 20 grand a year and put it in the capital improvement fund so that it is there when needed. An example, we already approved to replace the culvert at the cemetery, which needs to be done. And we didn't have a fund to do that, so it just comes out of the general fund.
Yeah.
Creating a capital improvement fund is a proactive measure to maintain the assets of the community and improve. Parks are an asset. Most things come from the Parks and Rec Fund for parks, but we don't budget any of our revenue towards the Parks and Rec. Everything that goes into the Parks and Rec Fund has been disbursements from the St. Clair County Parks disbursement millage and whatever we get for pavilion rentals. We don't designate anything from the budget for these items. This will be a new thing to designate a little bit of money every year towards. We have a healthy general fund. I'll mention, we have one of the best treasurers that we've had in decades because our money actually is making money. If you look at the treasurer investment reports, I think since this board has taken over, you made close to $50,000 in income, somewhere in that range.
I'd have to go look at it. I know like with one of them, just by when I first came in, just by exploring other investment options, we had everything in CDs, which they make money, but not that much money. And just by moving a good chunk of the money into, it's called an ICS, like sweep fund, which I won't get into the details unless somebody wants me to. But essentially, I make like $2,500 a month just from moving the funds from one account to another. And so that probably like that alone is like 30 grand a year that I created.
So we're increasing our revenues.
And that's just one of them, like moving the investments all over the place has created quite a bit of revenue, yes.
Okay.
I just don't want to put a dollar amount on it because I'd have to go back.
No, we're generating income with
Yes.
the money that we have in the general fund for the first time. We're not making pennies anymore, we're making dollars. And that is attributed to your job and the job you do, and we thank you for that.
I'm trying.
So yeah, basically this creates a fund to be proactive in the community.
Okay. One more question about your proposal here. Your recommendation is to approve and accept. Should this be two separate items that we need to discuss?
Hang on, approve and accept
Accept the contribution from Tri-Hospital Ambulance.
did I
Oh,
write that
going
in there?
back.
Yeah.
We're moving
I
back.
can amend that. Hang on.
That's the creation of the capital improvement fund for the new park building,
Let's see.
right there.
Oh,
Okay,
we can cross that off. When we make the motion, I'll delete the accept the 12,000 contribution from Tri-Hospital Ambulance. And we can strike that for now from the total, which takes it down to 214,000.
it's okay. I mean, this proposal here is not what the motion's gonna
Right.
be. So I wouldn't even worry about the wording. I just wanted to make sure we're gonna do this separately and.
Yeah, we don't have to do that today either. I don't know why that was still in there. That's my fault.
Okay, so.
So, I need a motion to approve creating a capital improvement, what?
To establish the capital improvement fund in the amount of
Okay,
$100,000.
I need a motion to establish a capital improvement fund in the amount of $100,000 sourced from the township general fund.
I will motion.
I will second.
All in favor by roll call vote?
Greg,
Yes.
Angela, yes, Sarah,
Yes.
Lisa,
Yes?
Chris.
Yes.
Motion carries. Moving on to item 2. And I supplied an email from the planner. Request to approve the proposal presented by Supervisor Abbey for installation of electrical services as part of the development of the new park building, to be paid upon approval of the new business item 1 from the capital improvement fund established for the park building project. In my request for the agenda item, I was told yesterday by the planner, because I had been asking him for 4 months, he verbally told me $6,000 to $8,000. This morning he called me and said, "Oh, I tried to send you an email, it didn't go through." So he decided I had him send it to my personal email. And he said, "Yeah, I forgot on the planning fee and the fact that we'll have 2 transformers on one property, so we're gonna charge you this." So he didn't even give me a breakdown. He gave me an email with the cost, $20,129.05. Now this township has talked about running power to the park for quite a while. Sue's was on the board back. They've been talking about this. The cost has ranged up to $50,000 in the past. The DTE wanted to run a new pole, run wire from the cemetery, and I said, "Well, we have this box here. Is it cheaper if we run from this box?" So we got the cost. I was ecstatic when he told me $6,000 to $8,000. I was like, "Man, I saved us a lot of money." And then he shot me down this morning. So we need to run electric to the park. Whether we were building the building or not, this is something that should have been done a long time ago. Electric to the park will provide availability for the pavilions to be lighted. It'll provide electricity for the pavilions. It'll provide electricity for events. This is a park improvement that's been discussed for many years. And, again, nobody ever wants to step up and do it for whatever reason. Nobody wanted to make the investment into the parks. Our parks are being used. I sit out here when I have my cigarettes, and these parks are being used every day. People pull in, they're enjoying the park, they're walking the path. This is an item that should be done regardless if we were building a building or not. So, I request to,
Hey, I have a couple questions about
yeah,
that. So it says in here too that this is without the conduit. So how much?
Yeah, what does that mean?
What does that mean? I don't know what that means.
it's gonna be a buried wire, but it's an underground wire. So
I know what a conduit is, but like, is this gonna cost us more?
if we wanted conduit. Conduit would mean that we could fish 1,000 feet of wire through the conduit if we wanted
That
to
it's all, okay.
in the
Gotta go
future.
with
And in all reality, with the second transformer box being in the center of the park, there'll be no need for the conduit. Right now, we've got, next to this pole in the back corner of the parking lot, there's conduit that runs from that box up to that pole, and then conduit that runs into the garage in the back parking
Okay.
lot. And I believe there's the conduit that runs up into here when they built this addition, so that they could run cable if they ever needed to and stuff like that. So that would be the conduit. I don't foresee us running cable back to that building.
I don't think there's a need
No.
for that.
It's not, there's no reason for the conduit. It'd be the same underground wire that if you had run to your house, your electrician would run your meter box, your meter can, with a plastic conduit down to the ground with a 90, and they would dig a trench and run the wire, the underground wire, I don't know if it's 10-aught or what it is anymore, to your conduit at the bottom of your house, and then it runs up the 90 into your box. So that conduit is buried, and that wire is buried, but it's not a conduit.
Okay, and then, so this, is it coming out of,
It's coming
This
out of the
budget.
capital improvement fund,
so it's gonna
yes.
come out of the capital improvement fund? And then my next question is does DTE have to be the one that does this? And is this something that,
Well, I asked that question. The DTE provides the transformers. So a regular master electrician or somebody we would hire can't provide the transformer. So I believe the biggest portion of that is the second transformer. I think that's where he forgot. He gave me the cost of the wire per foot, which was I think $16 a foot, which is where the 6,000 to 8,000 came from. And he forgot to add the cost of the second transformer. So that includes the cost of the transformer. So $16 a foot for the trench and the wire is not bad.
Does this have to go out to bid though?
I don't, who's gonna bid it, DT?
Yeah, that's
They-
really.
they-
Okay, so that was my question. Are they essentially, because I know that there's some things that only they can do. Is this
Yeah,
something that?
this is something-
So this is something that doesn't even, can't even really essentially go out to bid because DTE has to do it.
I thought about that, cause I was like, well, what if we didn't need the second transformer, and here's what the problem is. Cause my question is how many feet can you go from the transformer box that we have now? 200 feet's the max, without a second transformer.
Okay.
So they're going to put the second transformer, cause I think we're somewhere between 800 and 1,000 feet to where the location's gonna be, which is the center of the park. They had the second transformer box. Now, he did ask me if we were gonna add another building up here at any time, because once we add that second transformer from this transformer box, there is no running another building from this transformer.
Okay.
Oh, I don't see us.
And I don't foresee any need for a second building up
I don't-
here
Right,
that we
where
would
would
have.
we even put it?
Right, so I said, yeah, I don't foresee that, and that's why we were able to cut the cost down to that and provide the second transformer box, 'cause once we had that second transformer box, that's the last thing that can be added to this transformer box.
Okay.
It's a lot to swallow.
My only concern is this does not look official.
I know it doesn't look official.
It's just an email with,
I mean, we
Few
could
words
table
on
this
it.
until I can get the official estimate from him. This is, again, this has been a 4-month process, trying to get this.
I know, but I also want to cross our Ts and dot our Is and just double check and make sure, because we do have a policy on bidding above a certain
And it's
price point.
$129
and this is-
above it.
It's what?
It's $129 above.
And that's why I really wanna look into that, because this, I just wanna make sure that this is something that only DT can do, and it's not something that we have to put up with.
But I'm
Yeah.
okay with tabling it then. I mean, I would just need a motion to table until the next meeting.
I'll motion
Until I
to
get a
table.
clarification, a full bid price from him. I gotta be honest with you. That's been torture trying to get that guy on the phone, trying to get him to come out here, trying to get that
That might be, a good, prediction into the future
DT.
of DT even getting.
Well, he did
involved.
tell me that within
Right.
4 weeks of our approval, it would be installed, for what that's worth.
Okay.
So, we're still okay, because I think we should wait to even start construction in the new building until after the Hood Students and Brews event.
Oh, yeah.
So, that allows us to add back into the fund a little bit with what we made from that. So, I just need a motion then to table
So-
until we get more information.
Sarah made the motion and I will second. Motion to table.
You made a motion?
I made a
Sarah made
motion,
a
she's
you
gonna
second?
second.
Yep.
All in favor by roll call vote?
Greg?
Yes.
Angela, yes. Sarah?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes?
Chris?
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Motion request is tabled. Item number 3, request to approve a proposal presented by Supervisor Abbey for the wood chip replacement, weed removal in the Township Park Playground area by Tim's Landscaping in the amount of $27.50 to be paid from the Parks and Recreation budget. I sprayed the weeds along the path. I sprayed the weeds in that playground area and they just will not die. So I spoke with Tim, I spoke with the insurance company as well, the power plan. And I discussed holding off until we got a grant for full removal. And the insurance company, Dustin, recommended to go ahead and do a clean and get rid of the weeds and do a I think there's 30 or 40 yards of wood chips that'll be brought in to remove some liability, you know, with the weeds and the deterioration of the current wood chips. And we are applying for a power plan grant to do a full removal and replacement of the wood chips for next year.
And can they put some kind of like landscaping cloth underneath?
I believe that'll be part of the proposal when
Well,
we.
I think part of the problem though is the wood chips that were put back there were live wood, and what's growing back there is actually little baby pines.
Yeah.
So, even if you put weed barrier
It's not
down,
gonna do anything.
it wouldn't do anything for the problem that's back there right now. I don't know what that means for the mulch they're putting down here, and or what they would put down next year. I don't know.
Well, and that would be, you know, for next year's grand proposal. This is to clean the playground area up for this year, for the remainder of this year. I mean, kids are playing in there every day,
Yeah.
plus when the soccer games come back at the end of August, the kids are playing in that. You know, the parents take the young ones over there. The weeds are a problem.
They're a
This will
terrible
be,
problem.
this is a Band-Aid for this year with a full replacement next year with grant money from the power plant. Dustin has committed to helping me with the language in this grant for the power plan. It falls in line with everything that the power plan approves for grants.
How much of the chips are getting delivered?
How much are they?
No. Like the amount.
It's on the one that was,
Yeah, it was on the addition.
Oh, I'm sorry, I
That
didn't
got
see
dropped off
that.
to me this
Okay.
afternoon, and it's actually, instead of
25
27.
yards.
25
Okay.
yards
Awesome,
mulch.
thank you.
And spread.
Yeah, instead
20.
of 2750, it's actually 2700.
So,
So I saved $50. But, that does include, you know, they did tell me they would pull the weeds that are in there out now. They would scrape and, before they put the new wood chips down.
Okay.
And spread. So it'll clean it up for the rest of this year while we, apply for the grant for full replacement next year from the power plan. Those power plan grants, which we've never applied for, which is ridiculous to me, but, they're given, to the communities that are part of the power plan to help mitigate liability issues, and wood chips falls under that for playground areas. So we will be applying for that, probably in the next month or so for next year. But this is, the insurance company, Dustin, recommended to go ahead and do for liability purposes, to clean it up this year.
Okay.
So
Could we consider rubber mulch for that next year?
I want to look into that, and that's why we haven't applied for the grant yet. Another part of that would be the rubber mulch.
You'd need like what's the retaining wall around it right now though? Because the rubber mulch
I don't think there is.
you would need like some kind of retaining wall, because every time it rains, it'll wash away the rubber mulch.
Yeah.
We're going to, eventually, we're going to look at a complete, the playground back there, I think, is over 30 years old. I mean, there's some things that are in good shape, some things that
The
are,
equipment is newer than that.
what's that?
The equipment is newer than that.
Is it?
Yeah.
Some of it is,
All
I
of-
know.
I'm pretty sure all of it
I
was
think all of it.
replaced back in 2021 or 22. It was
I
part
think
of
it's
our
older
original.
than that, but I don't think it's 30 years old.
Okay.
All of our original ARPA money went towards some of that playground stuff.
Okay.
That was before my time, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, he
Okay.
brought up rubber mulch. I've seen these rubber pads
Right.
that go down, and
So
they're
for
cut around.
today, though, we're just approving this one.
Today, we're just approving this one.
Okay.
This is
I'll
just
make
a,
a
this is a
motion.
Band-Aid to make it playable for the kids. And
I'll
it comes
make
out
a
of parks.
motion to approve this wood chip replacement and weed removal
At $2,700.
at $2,700.
And I will second that.
All in favor by roll call vote, please.
Greg,
Yes.
Angela, yes. Sarah,
Yes.
Lisa,
Yes.
Chris.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 4, request to approve payment of invoice 117704 to Kirk Ruth Lang and Badalamenti PLC in the amount of $2,008.90 for legal services performed through May of 2025. That covers what the enforcement action so far against the Blanchard case and the resolution to the Baird case. And some of the work on reviewing the current assessment that is on the fire and police, and seeing how we can repair that assessment. I'll entertain a motion to approve payment of the invoice.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor by roll call vote, please.
Greg,
Yes.
Angela, yes. Sarah,
Yes.
Lisa,
Yes.
Chris.
Yes.
Motion carries. Request to approve payment of invoice 628102 for $204 from June of 2024 payable to Garn attorneys and counselors, which was never received and remains outstanding, and I'll clarify this because Mr. Goldenbogen had sent us an email. He did send those back in July and August of last year. Was it July and August?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did, they did send us those. Mary Agnes did not include those. At that time, she received the invoices and forwarded them to the clerk. She also did the agenda, so those were never,
It's just one invoice, and for some reason, this one particular invoice was never included.
so he had sent us the invoice and then said, asked us if we could pay it because we had missed it. So I need a motion to approve the payment of that invoice from June of 2024.
No motion.
I'll second.
All in favor by roll call vote, please.
Greg?
Yes.
Angela, yes. Sarah?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 6, request to approve payment of invoices 645854 and 645855 as the final services rendered by Garn attorneys and counselors and Robert Goldenbogen for the total amount of $731. With the conclusion of the AJ's case, that was the last action he was involved with. That'll be the final invoice. To have a motion to pay the final invoice to Mr. Goldenbogen.
No motion.
No second?
All in favor by roll call vote, please.
Greg?
Yes.
Angela, yes. Sarah?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 7, request to approve budget resolution number BR 2025-2026-02 to amend the Cottrellville Township budget for year ending March 31st, 2026, which was approved on March 12th, 2025. I noticed a lot of the things on the amendment we're reducing, because we're not gonna spend that much money.
Right, so basically, all it is moving money.
Right.
There was no change in the final totals in any of, in the general fund or in the other additional funds that I included.
Yeah, we're just taking money that we're not gonna use in other areas and applying it to other places. If you notice, if you look at it, there's a lot of.
There was an original copy, one of you must have it, that is highlighted. Okay, Lisa has the
Lisa's got
highlighted one there.
You got the section.
Unfortunately, when Angela made the copies for me, she didn't make color copies.
Oh,
So, you'd have to go line item by line item to see the changes.
did you
but,
wanna just read mine?
Do you guys want me to read them out?
Did you go through them?
No, I didn't.
Did you have any questions?
No.
I'm pretty impressed. Our budget is right on track. I mean, actually, we're, it's things that I thought we were gonna spend more money on, we're not spending money on, and things that, like contracted services, we have to spend a little bit more money on, but we've got, we're right on track. We're still in the black by quite a bit, and our revenues are actually gonna be higher than, I believe our revenues are gonna be higher than what I projected, so, because I reduced our yearly revenues.
Yes, so total net of revenues and expenditures, on the original budget, we had a net of $16,255. On the recommended budget, it is off by $200, it's $16,005, but it's just, it's just a little bit of play in money here and there to cover some expenses that, $200 over is not quite that.
Yeah.
Or $200 difference, not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of.
So, any questions? Or any more discussion? I'll entertain a motion to, do I need to read the resolution? No. I'll entertain a motion to approve the budget resolution BR 2025-2026-02.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor by roll call vote, please.
Greg?
Yes.
Angela, yes. Sarah?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 8, request to approve the proposal presented by Treasurer DiStefano to close the office on Thursday, August 21st, 2025, to allow staff to attend an event hosted by Friends of the St. Clair River including hourly staff compensation and mileage reimbursement for 2 township vehicles to transport staff to and from the event. I'll just mention that we were all invited to, and there's a nice invitation, and they sent us a message in a bottle, beautiful. And, you know, I'll let Sarah take it over, because it's her
Yeah,
request.
it's, like Greg said, it's to the, they're putting on an event called the Shoreline Walk, A Revolution in Bloom. They are the ones helping us with, revamping our,
Shoreline
the
Park.
Shoreline Park, and, it's gonna be a great event, and, yeah, they invited the entire office, and so, and you guys, the board, whoever wants to come, and I think it would be a great event for all of us to go to. And I'd like to throw in there too, for the wages, it only affects, I think there's 2 of the hourly employees that'll be going.
Okay, no,
Well,
It can affect up to, well, there's 4 of them.
there's 4 hourly employees.
Yeah,
I will state that the way this proposal here reads is that you're kind of telling them they have to go, or they don't get paid. So I would say those hourly
That is-
employees,
yeah.
it's a approved staff compensation for participating in the event as part of their regular scheduled hours. It reads to me like either they go or they don't get paid. And if it's a regular day of work, they should, I think, at least be able to choose whether they go.
make it an option.
Yes, and I did
Here,
already, before I wrote this
or-
up, ask them, they do wanna go, so I'm not forcing them to do anything they don't want to do. It was a
Well-
discussion with everyone, before I even wrote this up, I asked if they wanted it to go, and if they wanted me to ask the board, if, you
Okay.
know, cause they were invited.
I love it. I love the idea of getting the office involved. I love the idea of getting the community involved. We're making a lot of progress.
And real quick, I'd like to throw in there too, it's a 4-hour day, it's not a full day.
Okay.
It's one of our short days.
You know, other than, I mean, we're saying they have to go, I say the only change I would make is make it optional, just for purposes of transparency, or, you know, not forcing somebody to go to get paid.
Yeah, that was not my intent. when
So,
I
So
wrote this.
you mentioned the hourly employees, the 4 hourly employees, that we do have here in the office. Only 2 of them wanted to attend?
Nicole and, no, I'm sorry, 3 for sure. And then Kathy, I haven't gotten an answer from back. I'm not 100% sure if she wants to or not.
Right.
and
So if-
Kathy's the building department, so
Right.
she could come to work anyway and
I
get
was
her
gonna say,
pay.
so if she would wanna come to work, she has that option.
100%. I did not, when I wrote this, I did not intend like forcing them to go. They don't wanna go, they don't have to go.
Then I'll make a motion that we give the option for attendance to the River Walk event with Friends of the St. Clair River, and if all so choose, that we post the offices closed that day. If for any reason somebody doesn't want to go and they'd rather work in the office, that is their option, and that for the building department or whoever else is here, they can remain open for that day. But for all intents and purposes, if the clerk's office and the treasurer's office is closed, because of the attendance, then it'll just be by appointment for the building
Yeah.
office. So that's my motion. I say we just make it optional and pay it. You know, I love it. That invitation was beautiful. If anybody wanted to see it, it's up in the cabinet over there. They presented a note, some river water, flowers, some tree bark, all of the good things that organization has done over the last several years. And this is for future cooperation to continue to get grant funds for these projects. Wonderful organization. We had a very good turnout at the volunteer at the Shoreline Park. Last month, we got another one coming up. announce that later, but, yeah, good things, lots of good things from them, so. I made my motion, somebody wants to second it?
I'll second.
All in favor, by roll call vote?
Greg?
Yes?
Angela, yes. Sarah?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 9, request to approve payment of invoice 348381 payable to KCI for 2025 summer tax bills sent June 2025 in the amount of $756.27. My question is didn't we already approve paying that?
No.
No?
No,
What we
it was just the
approved was a
postage.
prepayment of postage.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So this is the actual final,
Now that's the actual
we
final?
just paid for the postage, yeah.
Gotcha, copy that. Okay. Any discussion on it? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
A motion.
I'll second.
All in favor by roll call vote, please.
Greg?
Yes?
Angela? Yes, I'm sorry, wow. Sarah?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
And Chris?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 10, request to approve the proposal presented by Supervisor Abbey to upgrade the camera equipment in the boardroom, including the purchase of new accessory equipment and installation services not to exceed $1,000. We have been working with Channel 6 CTV, who does our recording, for a few months now. We had looked at purchasing new cameras, new equipment all around. We did get another bid from another company. All these bids ranged from $10,000 to $12,000. We didn't feel prudent at the time to invest in the new cameras because these work, the quality isn't good. It's the old technology, you know, back when you had your old TVs. Now everything's 16:9. Well, what CTV has come up with is they managed to acquire some HD cameras for free that come from East China Stadium, I believe. They were salvaged when they upgraded their equipment, but these are still high-def 16:9 cameras. And they are willing to install them in our building if we have to buy a new switcher and a new monitor, and then the cost to move the wires. The new cameras, this camera here will move to here, the wires will reach, they'll come and move the wires to here. This camera will go there, this camera will go there. The way the boardroom is set up now, that gives a better view for the recording of the meetings. This table used to be facing this direction, so these cameras were set up for that. They sufficed for a long time, but they've cut that cost down from $10,000 to $1,000. And you know, I put it off, and I agree. It's time. We need to upgrade some stuff in here, and by upgrading the cameras, it'll make it a little easier for them to record the meetings. It'll give a little better view of everybody who's actually talking instead of a side angle. And so, is there any discussion, any questions on it? It'll probably actually be less than $1,000 because it's probably not going to take them but a couple hours. But that was just the max, so it's not to exceed $1,000. One other thing they'll be adding is an HDMI cable to the new TV we've got installed. For when people come here to do slideshows, the HDMI cable will be able to present it on the broadcast. So that'll be added, which, by the way, I donated the TV last month.
I'll make the motion to approve the camera equipment and not to exceed $1,000.
I'll second.
All in favor by roll call vote?
Greg?
Yes.
Angela, yes. Sarah?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Motion carries. On item number 11, request to approve the resolution R-2025-10, a resolution of the Cottrellville Township Board to ratify the consent judgment entered in the matter of Cottrellville Township versus Andrew and Deanna Garshot, case number 01-001576-CZ. I believe we have the judgment in the packet.
Yep. So I have it open here. I would like to speak to this. I was reading it, while we were talking about some other things.
That's okay.
So, I'm seeing that in the original order, I'll read it here. It says, some of the issues is the music outside, it's the outside bar. Those are the issues I understand, correct? The music and the outside bar. So the original judgment says this judgment is not intended to prevent the piping of background dinner music to the exterior or patio area. And it also states that shall be permitted to provide outdoor food and drink service within the 5,000 square foot area for the building structure and patio. Now, the new judgment, as I'm reading it, says that outdoor food and drink shall be permitted on the patio area east of the western edge of the present tiki bar and shall be prohibited on the transverse dock at the riverfront of the property. Okay, and then it also states that the consent judgment may continue to pipe dinner music to those receiving outdoor food and drink service. So the only difference I see between the two is the dock at the riverfront of the property. Is that what I'm stating? Or,
What?
Hold on.
Okay.
Just yes or no? Is that really the only difference? So we have the tiki bar and the building and the music, which remains the same. So the only difference I read here is the transverse dock at the riverfront of the property. Now, I will say the old structure says the defendant will allow the building department to inspect any improvements to the bar, and it's on us to do that stuff, and if that stuff wasn't done properly, that is not anything that this board can do anything about now at this point. So I'm not really, to your complaints, Neil, Mr. McKenzie, I'm not really seeing how the two consent judgments are all that different.
And I'll kind of address, because Mr. McKenzie and I spoke several times on this issue, and this judgment, other than the picnic tables on the west side of the tiki bar, is exactly what he was provided in May or March. And Lisa was provided that as well in March. It's pretty much exactly the same, other than the addition of allowing tables, a picnic table or two, to be placed on the west side of the tiki bar for smoking purposes. That is not used for service area. The biggest contention and I have the original petition from the McKenzies and a couple of the neighbors here, that their complaint was the decks and patios for outdoor service have been added to expand the service area over the 5,000 square feet in violation of Class A non-conforming agreement. Tiki bar with outdoor service from the bar inside has been constructed without permits. Patrons at the outdoor tiki bar can be heard hollering and creating bar noise until late hours, including radios and televisions. Outdoor music continues to be advertised and performed on a weekly basis during the summer months. Now, this was applied in March 18, 2024. I have not heard any outdoor bands since then. The residents also are exposed to other nuisances, including smells from the grease traps, loud vehicles going to and from, headlights flashing on the properties, neon glow and parking light pollution, drunkards yelling at all hours. We, the residents, demand the township enforce the ordinances and unlawful additions made to the property that are in our R1 district. Additionally, any potential rezoning of 7493 River Road we will not support and would be irresponsible of the township to endorse. It's signed by Mr. McKenzie, Mike Warsick, Mary Zabrowski, Mary Bishkoff, and Dan Salovey. Throughout this process, there has been contention of what could be enforced to the original 2002 judgment. That 2002 judgment was based on ordinances and laws that existed in 2002. With the Zoning Enabling Act of 2006, and furthermore the Planning Enabling Act of 2008, townships and cities across the state were required to update their ordinances to adhere to the new state zoning laws and follow conforming guidelines based on that. Many of our ordinances were rewritten between 2006 and 2009. Many of the paragraphs that define that 2002 judgment no longer exist. So that was the defining answer of how far we could take this if we took it to trial. Based on that fact, we decided that a negotiation process was in our best interest as recommended by the judge based on the fact that the laws have changed. So we moved to that process, and I think it was March, we had a meeting here in the office between their attorney and our attorney, Mr. Goldenbogen. And we got them to agree to reaffirm the consent judgment of 2002. We allowed the tiki bar to stay, and part of those negotiations were because the building was expanded to allow for ADA compliant bathrooms. Now, I have this, the sketch of the current structure. If anybody wants to see it, I didn't include it, but I pulled it out before the meeting. Currently, the structure, not including bathrooms, not including the bar area, or not, I mean, including all of that, not just the service area, is 3778. Now, they've included the outside tiki bar, which that's roughly 400 square feet. And then the new definition for the patio, yes, it's 1,316 square feet, although 8 feet of that 22 feet is sidewalk, so you can't really consider that service area on the patio. So that's roughly 1,000, so we're at 1,300 feet. Really, we're within a couple hundred feet of the original 5,000 square feet. If he hadn't added the ADA compliant bathrooms, we'd probably be right at 5,000 square feet, which is what the original consent judgment agreed to. And the wording on the original consent judgment is very ambiguous, very gray. They call it service area. What do you want to consider service area? Are bathrooms service area? Are you serving the public in the bathrooms? Are you serving the public behind the bar? Are you serving the public in the kitchen area? The patio existed before. Obviously, the original consent judgment acknowledges that there was a patio and patio service before. Mr. McKenzie's accusation that I had negotiated double the space with the Michigan Liquor Control Commission is false. I've never talked to the Michigan Liquor Control Commission, short of applying for our special event liquor license. That was all determined by the Liquor Control Commission. They have followed the case. I see the emails between, I don't even know the guy's name, or woman's name, and Mr. Goldenbogen. They've been updated to what we agreed to. We're within a couple hundred feet. We've solidified that space. Everything east of the tiki bar, south of the tiki bar, anything west of the tiki bar is a non-issue. You can't serve there, you can't have bands there, no outside music, no volume on the TVs outside, strictly the dinner music being piped outside. So we're within a couple hundred feet of that. There's been no live bands, to my knowledge, last summer, which is what this petition contends, starting in March, that there was already live bands, and I got no complaints of live bands this year, or I don't see any from last year. I solidified the dimensions of what now can be enforced. I restated the 2002 consent judgment. As far as the other couple complaints on here about the indoor music funneled outside, people coming in and out of a door is not funneling music, so I won't hold them to that accusation. And smells from a grease trap, loud vehicles going to and from, headlights flashing on the properties, neon glow, parking light pollution, drunkards yelling out. That building has existed in its current location since 1930. It's been a restaurant since 1930 / bar, whatever you want to call it, since 1930 when it was built. by no fault of the property's owner at the time, the rezoning was done to an R1 district. Even though the properties directly adjacent to them are zoned business and commercial properties, they did not zone that property the way it is. So when that rezoning took place, we are held to a standard by the Michigan Supreme Court to enforce the laws that were in effect at the time that that building was rezoned and became non-conforming. To be honest with you, the laws back then were pretty vague. Even the consent judgment says the noise levels are to be based on the County Planning Commission's noise levels for those districts, and at that time, there was no ordinances on the noise levels. So when you say not to increase the noise levels, what's increasing the noise levels? Were bands present back then? I couldn't tell you. I was 9 years old in 1984, so I couldn't tell you. But I can only go based on today. We have redefined the outdoor space. We have made it so that it is enforceable. I've had no complaints of bands. I have had other complaints about other neighbors, but I'm not gonna go into that. I solidified the judgment. When we hired the attorney, we give them authority on enforcement actions. This isn't anything that needed to come in front of the board before the attorney worked out. We had full faith in the attorney when we signed that contract with that attorney to handle these legal affairs on our behalf as an enforcement action. This isn't something where money exchanged hands, property didn't exchange hands. This was an enforcement action. According to the Michigan Supreme Court, it's totally illegal for us to ratify the consent judgment after the fact. I did not get even the idea that we had the signed consent judgment until I received it on June 16th, which was after our last meeting, or else it would have been in front of us then.
I would say that even the one in 2002 or whatever was only signed by the attorney.
Exactly. That's because it's, as an enforcement action, we put the full faith in our
It was voted.
township legal counsel to handle
I
that.
don't know.
I have the minutes for that.
What's that?
I have the minutes for the special meeting in 2002 when it was approved by the.
So in 2002,
Okay,
the
yeah.
board approved it, and then they signed it. So I guess my question is what you're asking us today is because, you're asking us to table it because,
You want us to continue further action? What is it that you want?
I would like you guys to actually speak with the neighbors.
I think.
But you brought an enforcement action to the supervisor. The supervisor initiated enforcement action, as should do. That enforcement action was passed to me. I consulted with the attorney based on what the judge had informed the two attorneys at that time. I informed the attorney to do whatever he can to make this a solid case that we can enforce moving forward. That has been done. We put the full faith, the board puts the full faith in to the attorney that represents the township. I've said it before, I'll say it again. The attorney for the township does not represent the residents. The township council represents the board. Not you, Mr. McKenzie.
Okay, Greg, can I hear what Lisa has to say? I'm sorry.
I think that the belief is that the details of the case were not presented to the board before an agreement was made with the other party. And that seems like something that us as elected officials should have had an opportunity to see the details of the case in case any of us had any input when the case was being negotiated. I think as board members, I think that was all of our rights to be able to have input in that. And now, today, we're being asked to vote on a resolution that none of us had any input on. It was all negotiated through
By the attorney.
And also, you, Greg, I know were part of those conversations, so you are a board member.
And you are a complaining resident.
Well, and I'm a resident.
Okay, and as a board member, our code of ethics policy requires you to disclose and then acknowledge whether you can be impartial in any decision. Have you
Well,
I'm not making a
It's-
decision on this.
it's not,
okay,
what I don't understand necessarily is, yes, we didn't really have any input.
Neither did the neighbors.
Well, legally, the neighbors brought the complaint, and we have the complaint. I'm not sure that neighbors necessarily get to come to the table for the,
enforcement action.
I asked
For
for
the-
a meeting with the neighbors.
When?
I personally talked to you about having a meeting with the neighbors at the two planning commissions meetings ago.
Again,
Okay, so I have a question. So, and this is what I was trying to get at earlier, is the previous consent judgment and this are not very far off from each other. So what, without like me going through every page of this right now, what is it that you're trying to achieve by us tabling this
I
right now?
just want you guys to be able to read the full case structure, to understand what it is, get some feedback from the neighbors.
but it's, honestly, I mean, it's done.
And
There's-
that's a problem in my opinion, that it was, the board was not involved in this discussion.
It is something that we can, in the future, be better equipped to handle. As a new board member in a situation like this, I've never been in a situation like this. I've never served
You
on
were never
a,
asked to be part of it, that's the problem.
the problem is
It's not one person that runs the township, there's checks and balances,
absolutely.
and
But when
everyone's gotta be held accountable.
But when I give my approval to let the attorney work on my behalf, I feel like I should let the attorney work on my behalf,
But he signed it with consent.
on my behalf.
There's
So,
a reason why he wrote that note.
what note?
there's no,
The signs
no, it does say with
stipulated
consent, but
order
I
where
cannot,
Bogan signed his name and acting.
cannot read what's underneath consent.
Wait,
What note? Right there. I don't know what with consent, I don't know what.
he's saying with consent of the board, or with consent, and because he has he had a contract with the board to represent the board on enforcement actions. That's his job. Just like the new attorneys represented the board at the ZBA meeting regarding Karen Baird's case. What they came out at the end between the attorneys, the two attorneys, the ZBA, that had not, the board let the attorney handle the enforcement action. I asked Mr. Goldenbogen several times where we were at in the case. The last update I had, as far as any agreements, you guys had the same paperwork. I didn't get that until the 16th. I didn't see the final judgment until the 16th. I didn't have it before the last meeting. My understanding, 2 days before that, January 6th, is it was gonna be delayed because AJ's, Garshot's attorney had not gotten back. So it was my understanding it was gonna be delayed another month. That didn't happen. It got signed and went in front of the judge. The board gives the attorney the leeway to do that. And it's been reaffirmed by the Supreme Court of Michigan.
Greg, I don't think that you're an attorney.
I'm not an attorney, but I've spoken to the attorney.
And we've spoken to attorneys too.
Good. All the more power to you. We completed an enforcement action. I'll equate it to, if we had the MCI ordinance in place before this was started, this would have never had an attorney involved. It would have had our code enforcement officer writing the ticket and taking it to district court. And the board isn't going to approve what the code enforcement officer does as long as he's enforcing what needs to be done. The same with the attorney. The attorney handled the case. He resolved it, meeting all the conditions of what could be met under your petition. So my question to you is, what more are you looking to have done short of shutting AJ's down? What more are you looking to have done? Answer that question.
I want the original order
Well-
enforced.
By golly, that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
It states it in the judgment.
It actually is giving more.
It stipulates it.
It's,
I've done exactly what you want.
Okay.
Exactly.
There's
I-
fences now. There's
yeah.
a fence to be put
So
in
it
place.
is actually giving more by installing a privacy fence.
So, privacy fence, township ordinance is a buffering masonry wall.
For a business district. He's a non-conforming R1. If he rezones to a B,
It doesn't say business, the ordinance says a restaurant with drive-in service.
it says that in the B2 ordinance, in the B2 zoning regulations. It says that in the B2 regulations. If he gets approved to rezone, guess what? I have more enforcement capabilities because I can hold him to the standards in the B2 district. Today, I have to hold him to the standards of when he was rezoned. We have stronger laws today than we did then. Everything I do is to benefit enforcement. Everything I do.
I'm sorry, I don't agree with you.
I did exactly what you just said you wanted me to do. Stipulate the original consent judgment. I've added more regulations onto them. I have defined the outdoor patio space.
Okay, so what, so this is kind of where I was going to, is, you said you wanted the original consent judgment enforced. What differences are you seeing that I'm not seeing between the two?
Well, the outside tiki bar is illegal.
Why?
The-
Why is
the
that? Why?
CBA agreement with that property says that there will be no additional noise outside. An outdoor tiki bar is additional noise. Either way you cut it, you have a.
But they're allowed outdoor seating,
He
so
had
what's the
outdoor service
difference?
in the original
Hang on.
Yeah, the original judgment says indoor and outdoor.
He's allowed outdoor seating, so what is the difference with whether it's under a tiki bar or just outdoor
Because
seating?
everyone's sitting at a bar with a door that opens right into the bar, and those doors are propped open.
But they're,
So
It
that
is
will
my
fall
property.
under our new code enforcer to go there and check and make sure the doors aren't being propped open.
Everything I have done in this new judgment is so that it's easier to enforce. I've added, I stipulated right here, Mr. McKenzie, this area and that, nothing beyond this. You can have tables there for smokers, that's it.
But you can't smoke where they're serving it
But
food.
they won't be
It's-
serving
And they won't
there.
be smoking there.
No, the patio area immediately to the west may be used as a smoking area.
So that would be considered patio space.
That's not considered patio space.
Why not?
No, it's just their
It's not a
smoking
serving area. It's a smoking space. What's the difference whether they go to that area that exists or they go on the dock? They can go on the dock and smoke. There's nothing that regulates them from going on the dock and smoking. And that's one of your complaints. We addressed that in the thing. They asked us, well, what if they wanted to get a to-go meal and sit on the dock? And I said, absolutely not. Your service is contained to that area. You're not happy, AJ's isn't happy. That means the compromise, and that's what it is, it's a compromise. Because we could have got nothing. The judge could have said, the 2002 judgment, because those laws don't exist anymore, is inapplicable.
Well, my opinion is that.
Go ahead.
My opinion is that it was opening the door for that place to be rezoned. And then all this agreement's gonna be gone, and they can do whatever they
But
want.
But then we
rezoning will
can-
benefit you.
Yeah,
Because
it'll-
we can enforce hire
So when
hire
it is
more
zoned commercial,
structural.
can they have outdoor bands?
No,
It's not commercial. first of all.
that consent judgment stays in force. He can't change the consent judgment. It doesn't change.
So if his property is no longer zoned residential, R1, non-conforming, and it goes to commercial, he still has to abide by that?
Absolutely, 100%. That consent judgment stands. If he gets approved for rezoning, it gives me the availability to enforce stronger actions. Because as you said, he has to have the cement wall. That was his question when he came in to apply to rezone. Well, I have to abide by all these rules. I said, you'll have to work with the planning commission. I said, but those rules apply to you at that point. I made it very clear.
So if he waits to put up the privacy fence until after he gets rezoned, that privacy fence becomes a cement wall.
4 foot high, which, or whatever the minimum is, I think it's
Yeah, I
4
don't
foot. That's all he has to put there, right? I think it says 4 foot high, 4 to 6 feet. And right now, he's got, what, a 6 or 7 foot privacy fence? He's gonna put a 10-foot privacy fence. Which would you rather have? Would you rather have him a 4 foot cement wall, or would you rather have him have a 10-foot privacy
I
fence?
think the ordinance is a 6 foot.
I understand, but because we're trying to prevent, again, I'm allowing a little different standard on height. I think I allowed, I don't remember what it says in the judgment.
It doesn't say.
Okay,
doesn't say.
we had talked about a 10-foot fence. That way you weren't disturbed by people having their meals. I didn't just do this. Neil, I'm gonna be honest with you. You've told the community that I'm in cahoots with AJ.
I never said that.
Well, yeah, you have. But regardless of that, what I did was solidify the original judgment. Moving on from that, going to the rezoning request, this board cannot tell him no. If he comes in and pays the money and asks to be rezoned, it has to be heard. Because personally, honestly, if I was him, I would have waited. Because we're doing a new master plan. Maybe part of the new master plan, that whole corner will be rezoned. I don't know. That's what the consultants, the community need to come up with. But he, for whatever reason, my understanding is he would like to move forward in this community as a reputable business. He understands that rezoning puts him under more restrictions than he's under now. But it also allows them to transfer the business and the liquor license properly, because his father isn't running the business anymore. We will not hold the sins of the father against the son. AJ has power of attorney over his father, and he has power of attorney over the entire business. AJ has a different vision. He would like to make that, my understanding, and I asked him, he'd like to make that a casual dining area. He doesn't want to be open past 10 o'clock. He wants it to be a restaurant where people can come in and enjoy the view, have some good food, and he can go home at night. I respect that. He wants to work with the community. He wants to extend his hand out to you. Take it. Talk to him. Have you went over there and talked to him one time?
Yes, multiple. We have confirmation.
5 times I spoke with him.
Okay. I'm sure he's just as angry about the situation as you. I'm caught in the middle. I did what was best for the residents and the township. I solidified the past judgment. I gave a little bit. I ain't gonna lie, I gave a little bit. But that was so that I could rein in the rest. I reaffirmed to him, no outdoor music, no outdoor bands. It went on an extra 2 months because they wanted to put 2 TVs outside. And I said no, I kept it to 1. With no sound.
But the noise from the TVs wasn't the problem, it was the people there.
But they were, according to the 2002 judgment, they were allowed outdoor service. There's gonna be people there.
But not in a tiki bar.
It's outdoor, see, hang on a second, I don't understand quite where like the,
So if a
They stay
business
all
puts
night.
up a additional structure, there has to be permits, there has to be approvals.
okay. But there's nothing that we can do about that because that was done previously.
That was
That
quite a
was,
few years ago.
that was
2010.
multiple boards ago.
Yeah.
No,
That's-
after 2010 was when that bar was erected.
Well,
Okay.
then I guess we should have addressed it in 2010.
We're here in 2025, there's nothing that we can do about that now.
If I have to,
But I guess what my question is if, even in the original consent judgment, they were allowed outdoor seating. So it's because the door's opening that you don't like, because you could hear the inside?
The bar, people stay all night.
Well,
Like, if you
it's
go
a
to
bar,
dinner,
you're
I
gonna
know,
have
but if you
people
go
out
to
there.
dinner, you stay for an hour or two and then you go. But when the bar is there, and the outside bar that they did not pull permits to have, they stay there.
It's like any business that's maybe struggling, they will do anything to make themselves advantage.
I get it, I get it. But the township didn't spend $40,000 for me just to let them do what they want. I will enforce the judgment that we just got. I will enforce that to the most stringent rules that I can. That's my, what's the word I want to use? That's my commitment to you and your neighbors. Okay, I'll make that commitment. And don't get me wrong, I was reluctant to agree to some of it. I really was. But I was more worried about the judge throwing out the entire 2002 consent judgment than I was about allowing them to keep the tiki bar. How late are they out there? Are they out there till midnight? Are they out there till 1 or 2 in the morning?
No, it's much quieter
Okay. Can you see that he's trying to appease you? He's trying to appease the neighbors by keeping it quieter? Would you agree?
That doesn't mean if that property changes hands, that's gonna be the case.
But they still have to follow the consent judgment, correct? If it switches hands, if ownership switches?
I don't
Or is
know.
this consent judgment only for those owners?
I don't foresee it changing hands.
Well,
AJ
it's
wants
going to from father to son.
It'll
but
change
that's
from
it.
father to son, yeah, but that consent judgment will stay in place. Because it's AJ's on the river, doing business as AJ's on the river, that is actually under an S corp of the bar, AJ Salt Docks is under, give me a moment, AJ Seafood, which is an S corp. The liquor license, until this was resolved, at one point the property was in AJ's name, but it's been moved into the LLC because of the lawsuit. They had already started the process of transferring ownership. They had to stop that process. I think that's part of the reason why they want to rezone. Because if they rezone, then it makes the process of transferring the liquor license, the business, the property, everything easier into AJ's name. And as I said, I'm not gonna hold the sins of the father against the son. We all know that Andy was a rabble rouser, whatever you want to call it. I don't know him that well. I've been accused of hanging out. I've met him. I spoke to him 3 times during the election and put my signs out in front of AJ's. I made a commitment to this community that I would be fair to every property owner, and that's what I'm doing. I'm being fair to every property owner. I made a compromise between that, and I told you, I said, you're not going to be happy with everything. He's not happy with everything, but it's something that I can now enforce, and that's why I did what I did. I would have loved to bring it in front of the board before June 6th. I sent an email, said, what's the status? A couple days before the court date, it was my understanding it was gonna be postponed, and then everything got signed. Did I include everybody with what was going on? I did not violate the Open Meetings Act, but I did inform each member of the board, including Lisa. She had the last paper that I had is the exact same one the last one I saw. The only difference on this one was the picnic tables, I believe. I entrusted the attorney to settle this in a manner that I could enforce. So if I made a mistake by not stopping that before the court date so that we could vote on it, then by God, I made a mistake, and I apologize. I apologize to the community. But we allowed the attorney to handle enforcement actions for us. That's what they're paid to do. That's what our contract states. And if it should have been in front of the board, then the attorney should have informed us, and he did. He went ahead with the court date. But throughout this case, I individually have updated everybody what's going on. Just like I update every time at the planning commission meetings, I update. I told you what's going on, what I've agreed to in the compromise. Every planning commission, because it's on, when you were the planning commissioner, it was on the agenda on every planning commission meeting. That's another whole story, but I updated you on everything. I told you everything. I sent you the paperwork as I got it.
Okay, so,
So,
As per to the agenda line item, I mean, everyone is going to have input, because we're all gonna have a vote to approve.
but what
the
it is
consent
we're-
judgment.
what's that?
We're all gonna have a vote, so if anybody is not happy with it,
If it
And
doesn't,
I just wanna say too, again, I don't see a difference between the original consent judgment and this. There's really not much judgment. And,
The arguments are gonna be the square footage. I was never shown what square footage,
but we have it right here.
this is my only copy. If you want it, it's right here.
never seen it.
Okay, so
Yeah.
this is also something though that has been dragged out for a very long time. It's something that we have spent an
Exorbitant amount of money.
insane amount of money on. And this needs to come to an end. And this consent judgment, you said that you wanted the first consent judgment enforced. This consent judgment is the same as the first consent judgment, but it goes a little bit of a step further.
right,
So with that, and Lisa, I think,
if I.
in my opinion is, I think you're a little too close to all of this to
That's
truly
fine.
vote on
I
it.
will vote on it.
Yeah. And so with that, I'm going to make a motion to vote to approve this resolution.
I'll second.
Do you guys want me to read the resolution, or have you guys read it?
I've
I've
read
read
it.
this, yes.
Okay. All in favor by roll call vote, please.
Greg,
Yes.
Angela, yes, Sarah,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
and Lisa?
She abstained.
I abstain, yep.
Motion carries. Before I move on to the next one, I
No.
do
I think we
don't
should
even, just move
Just
on.
move on at this point. I think we've all said what we wanted to say. We all spoke
Did
about
my
it.
best.
Neil, you had a chance to speak to us about it. I think we all put in our input, put with our vote, and I think we should just move on at this point.
Item number 12. Request to approve the proposal presented by Supervisor Abbey for asphalt paving work. It says to resurface the parking lot at Cottrellville Township Hall to improve safety, accessibility, and appearance as quoted by Joe's Paving Company. It's not actually resurfacing the entire lot. It is cutting out the square behind us in this back lot. It's actually kind of more of a double square. Undercutting and replacing the gravel that caused the failure. It's been there for quite a while. It's a hazard, it's a trip hazard, it's a liability on the insurance.
You're talking about the stuff back by the dumpster?
Back by the dumpster. He's gonna bring in, I think he's got listed in there 35 tons of stone if needed, to build that up so that it doesn't happen again. And that's the quote. If he has to put 6 inches down, it was 15,000.
15,522.
I guess that's my only concern is that with the garbage truck going back there, that it's going to happen again. Like, was it installed improperly prior to this? Is that
Well,
why that happened?
It's hard to say, I was in the asphalt industry, and I've seen a lot of failures like that, and generally it's because there's no stone. There are not enough stone, maybe 2-3 inches of stone, and then asphalt laid down. There may only be a couple inches of asphalt there. Until he R&Rs it, we don't know why it failed. The problem is it's failed, it's been like that for a while, that cone has been in that hole. It's gonna deteriorate the rest of the area.
Yeah.
And continue to deteriorate that until the whole back area needs to be replaced. When he R&Rs it, he'll saw cut out those 2 areas, dig out any dirt that needs to be dug out, cause it could have been just paved over dirt. And that includes some stone. And then, and if it was a failure because of a lack of thickness of asphalt, he's got it in there that he'll do it up to 6 inches. He's got the 2 prices. If he only has to do 4 inches, then that price is $13,222. If he has to do 6 inches, it's $15,522. he won't know until the R&Rs it. If he can save us some money, I'm sure Mr. Josh will do that.
So he's going to basically just cut out a square around it and replace just that area?
The square, it's hard to say the dimensions, but it's painted off back there. There's 4 corners, there's 2 corners up front, then another corner, so it's a face here, kind of along the garage, goes back a little ways, and then over to the other lanes on that side and back to the back. So it's a pretty large area, and anything that needs to be dug out and stoned will get stoned.
So everything around it though, if that's not supported by the stone that he's going to replace, is it just gonna fail in that area around the edge of it?
No, because generally cars don't cause that kind of failures when you get, say, 20 tons, a 20-ton vehicle.
But we have that going back there with the garbage truck, cause that's what caused that, was the garbage truck.
But they're not hitting those edges. They're not hitting the
I got what you're
edges of
saying,
the parking.
okay, yeah.
They're going in the center there, and that's where it's gonna be restructured
I gotcha.
and rebuilt. Again, we've had a lot of things deteriorate in this community, and I told everybody that if we don't take care of our
Well, it has
assets.
to get fixed.
And
I mean,
it's a
that's
liability
safety
issue.
It has to
Somebody
get
parked there and
fixed.
almost tripped today, and I was like, I can't believe they're parking right next to the cone. And then they got the dog out of the car, and I saw her almost trip back. I'm like, oh.
No, it's a liability for sure that needs to get fixed.
So,
So ultimately, could we ask the power plan to pay for this too?
Ask the who?
The
power
power
plan,
plan to pay for this too?
if they could reimburse, I would say yeah, but we'd have to apply for it. It'd take a couple minutes to get approved. I think it needs to be done sooner than that. I think it should have been done 2 or 3 years ago.
No, I agree. Maybe we can put it in for a repayment or a
A
reimbursement.
reimbursement grant. I would definitely put that on the table and see, but this is something that I really feel needs to be addressed and fixed before it becomes more of an issue, because pretty soon, as the water permeates through that asphalt and then washes out underneath
gonna get
where the
worse.
garbage truck is going now, that whole back lot is just gonna get destroyed. So yeah,
I'll make the motion to approve.
will that motion include if he has to go 6 inches, so
I would
if
say
it's
up
less?
to that
For a
amount,
total-
for a total of 15,500.
For,
Up to, yeah.
Up to.
The total.
Okay, I have a motion, do I have a second?
It looks like in 2022, we had 2 other asphalt companies, quote, work for us in the township, so I
Yeah.
didn't know, if we set a dollar amount today, can we have 2 other companies, or at least another company give us an estimate?
Yeah, we can have them give an estimate. Anything under 20,000, we don't have to send out for bid, but I'm not opposed to it.
I don't know, I don't know if there's anybody else, I don't know. that would be
What were the
able-
other 2 companies?
They were called Strand and Aztec, A-S-T-E-C.
Aztec and Strand, yeah. I don't know if the Strand is still in business.
don't either.
But, no, I mean, if you guys want me to get a couple more quotes, and
Let's
we'll
table for
go,
quotes.
you know.
I'm just worried though, because
So-
it is a liability.
Right.
If somebody trips and falls on that,
No, I just
think
mean
in-
approve
in-
the amount, but maybe
Right.
just see if someone go under it.
I'll be honest with you,
that's a good idea.
and I'm not gonna vote on this. I'm gonna disclose this. I'm not gonna vote on it, but I'm explaining, I'm not gonna vote on it because I'm friends with Mr. Josh. Mr. Josh, and I'll just say that he's done a lot of paving. A resident called me today, hey, I see this is on the agenda. Have you seen any of his work? Mr. Josh paved the Guy Center in the new Marine City, City Hall parking lot. He paved the Dollar General in Fairhaven and then 29. He paved West Road and Bell River Road a few years back. He does a lot of the bike paths because he gives cheaper prices to the community and to the municipalities, because he likes to give back to the community. I'm more than happy to see if I can get a couple quick quotes.
So, well,
But I
maybe
would,
the motion can just be for a
dollar amount.
Yeah.
dollar amount not to exceed 15,700.
Okay.
There we go.
Is that satisfactory? I
Fair enough.
I got no problem getting other quotes. I know Mr. Josh can get out here and get it right away. I don't know how busy other.
So
Yeah, I
then,
don't know.
if we approve that, because it technically doesn't have to go to bid, if we get a quote that's less than that for the same amount of money, do we have to wait until next month? Or can we just, you can just approve it?
If you
right?
guys approve it, I can approve the whichever company comes in with the proper bid based on apples to apples are the strongest.
Or we could do like a,
But I'm not opposed to getting another bid. I was just trying to get this done
I don't know.
so that we can get that repair done before it deteriorates any further. So,
So 15.7.
yeah,
so amend the
I'll
motion
make,
to.
yeah, I'll make the motion to approve up to 15.7
With an attempt to get,
with an attempt to get, more bids.
okay. And how do we word that?
A motion to have the asphalt repaired, not to it, that way you don't even name a company.
Okay, that'll work.
Motion to
And
have
then
the
I'll supply you
asphalt-
guys with a couple bids if you want. I'll send them to you guys.
all right, I'll second it.
All in favor by roll call vote, please.
Greg,
Yes.
Angela, yes, Sarah?
Yeah.
Oh, I abstain.
Gotta start it, okay.
I'm sorry, I abstain.
All right, so Greg abstains, Angela, yes, Sarah,
Yes,
Lisa,
Yes.
Chris.
Yes.
Motion carries. I apologize about that. Moving on to item 13, request to set a public hearing for August 13th, 2025 at 7 PM, immediately preceding the regularly scheduled township board meeting to hear objections and affirmations regarding the police and fire protection special assessment. And then we have to publish that twice and send out the cards, right?
Publish once.
Once, publish once and send out the cards? Okay.
Publish once at a minimum of 15 days
Okay.
prior to, but I mean, as soon as we set the date, it'll go to the,
With the new deadlines, yep. So, can I have a motion to set a public hearing for August 13th? on the-
motion,
I'll second.
All in favor by roll call vote?
Greg,
Yes.
Angela, yes, Sarah,
yes.
Lisa,
Yes.
Chris.
Yes.
Motion carries. Moving on to the additional.
This is-
Item number
in that
H,
packet.
19, review and consideration of proposed statement of work for Civic Plus for social media archiving pursuant to the Michigan Freedom of Information.
Forgot D.
No, I did D under the consent judgment.
That's,
Oh,
that's a
okay.
consent judgment item.
Oh, my bad, I'm sorry.
No problem.
All right, so I will speak to this, because I sent this out to the whole board to ask questions if they wanted to. I don't remember what day that was. It was brought to my attention that now that we, have a social media presence, an official social media presence, that our social media presence now becomes public record and therefore is foilable and requires a retention schedule. You know, you never think of that when you think of Facebook. It's like, you know, it's Facebook.
Right.
But it makes sense now that it was brought to my attention. So Civic Plus is a company that deals in retention. That's basically their job. They have different tools for all different aspects of retention. They have an option now that has social media archiving and web archiving as well. I brought this to the board's attention and met with Civic Plus. They gave us 2 quotes. An option that just includes social media archiving, which is the economy quote. And then an option that includes the web backup as well. At first I was like, well, we're going to need the web backup. Then I contacted our actual website company. They do retention
Is it high tech?
for us. The website is Shoemaker Technology Group.
High tech changed hands too,
Oh.
not high tech anymore.
No, so the website is Shoemaker Technology Group, and our IT company is High Tech / Centaurus. So Civic Plus gave us the two quotes, and I was like, well, we already have an IT company and, a website company. Let's see what they are doing and what they can do going forward. Shoemaker Technology Group already does some retention. It's very minimal though. It's one week for the dailies, 1 month for the weeklies. I mean, it's kind of a interesting schedule. But it's all they have room on their servers to do. If we want them to back up at a better, more robust retention schedule, we would have to pay for cloud storage for that. With that said, we already have a upgraded server here on site that we just did not that long ago with High Tech and Centaurus, now known as Centaurus. So I contacted High Tech and I said, well, if they can get it to us, can you back it up on our server? And they were, High Tech was very open to that. They said we have plenty of room on our server to do that. So now, and at no additional cost. So High Tech and Shoemaker Technology Group are, I put, the two people in contact, and that will begin when they, get the process enabled. So now, with that said, we only need to consider the social media aspect of it. Our website, people don't have anything to do with that, and our IT people don't have a way to do that. So, Civic Plus, social media archiving economy price is, for the first year, it's not actually a year. What they did was they prorated it to bring us to our fiscal year. So that way, annual subscriptions, when we're audited, we have to maintain costs based on our fiscal year. So it just makes it easier for us in the end when we're audited that, it runs with our fiscal year. So year one is $1,978.88. That is a prorated amount to bring us up to the fiscal year with a one-time fee of $500. And then year two would be $2,858.31. What I have noticed that after, starting in year three, they do a 5% increase every year after that. So I don't know what 5% is, but that doesn't sound like a pretty number to me. I just wish there was a better option. I don't know. High Tech did say he would look into what options there were that he could find out.
5% is gonna add up quick. And is that like 5% like inflation lift? Like what annual uplift?
Well, 5% applied in year two.
I think that's a typo. It's in year three. It's,
Should be year three.
right.
So if it's 5% a year increase, I mean,
This one is the standard, so
Yeah.
this is, I don't have it in the packet, but it does state 5% in year three. So I think that two is
yeah, okay, that's a mistake.
Yeah, is a typo, annual recurring starting in year three with 5% to be applied.
I'll tell you,
Can I see yours real quick?
Well,
we created the Facebook page for a reason, and I mean, every day we end up with 1 or 2 new followers. People use that to message us. I see a lot of messages come through on that. It's kind of served as our text my glove, because we put out the road closures, the water main breaks on that page. A lot of people see it. It gets shared. Some of our posts get seen some of them have been seen 20,000 times, and we only have 3,400 residents. So, is it a good thing to have it? Is it worth the expense? I believe so, because it gets the message out to the people too.
Can I see the?
Backing it
that
up.
sheet?
The what?
That sheet. right
This, with the standard account? Yeah. That includes the web,
there. Okay. So it doesn't say that it's going up 5% every year, it just said that it'll be.
well, it says annual uplift.
Oh,
So, but then it also just says 5% to be applied in year. So, I don't know what that means. So I don't know. We can either vote on it, or I can go back to them and ask them more questions, because I didn't notice that at first, that annual uplift.
Is that the latest email they sent?
Yeah.
If you, that was the one they sent this out?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, that was this, and it
That's
was
this one.
only because they offered to give us a discount on the standard product.
Okay.
But we don't need
The
a
standard.
standard product, because we already have the ability to
To
do the
do the other
website.
part? Okay.
Well, they're gonna be able to archive it, no matter if we sign them tomorrow or next month, right? So,
Yes, the problem is, in the meantime, here's where the problem lies with social media, is if we are hacked, or if Facebook decides a post is not appropriate and they take it down. Those things are not necessarily unavoidable, but those things are out of our control, and therefore make it so that we are potentially not in compliance with,
oh, so you wanna get it started right away, is that what you're saying?
that would be the best thing for
Well,
us.
Is it something where we can, sign the contract for the 3 years and then just have a note that in 3 years it gets reviewed again?
Yes, definitely. We
So then
can,
we can-
I mean, honestly, we're only signing, this particular is only 2 years.
Yeah, that's.
So,
We can
when the
reevaluate.
annual reoccurring services starts in 3 years, like prior to that, we can reevaluate it, definitely.
It might be the type of thing where you can say, I'm discontinuing it, and just like if you're talking to Verizon, they'll say, well, we'll give you a deal.
Right.
So you stay.
Yeah.
you know.
I definitely think we should reevaluate, definitely starting, after this 2-year, even if there wasn't this annual uplift charge. It just, my other concern, and honestly, I don't know how it works, is once they have our stuff and we decide to not go with them, do we own that
Oh.
stuff, or do they own that?
That's a good, why don't we table this so we can ask them these questions and have a complete.
Because then we're not getting a
knowing of
discount
what
on the
we're signing
economy
up for.
package, that's the
No,
price, right?
no, this is the price. The discount was only if we went with the web one.
I was pretty impressed with the way it does make it searchable though, and, we're not responsible for anything that gets shared by other people, so like if John Smith shared it to another page or something, we don't have to archive that, just what's on our page. So we're not responsible for what's at least, but anything that starts on our page, we have to archive so that it is available. And,
So here, this is an option. Does it make sense to make a motion to accept the proposal if we get the right answers? I mean, like,
So if we own the
if
data
we
that they're
own
storing.
the data, and that if we choose not to go with them, they give that to us, and we keep it, because our retention schedule typically on most things is 7 years. That's like a standard retention schedule. So if we decide in 3 years not to go with them anymore, and we still have to keep it for another 4 years, they have to provide that to us. So if they say that, yes, the truth and that's what will happen. And, well, what other questions, other than the annual uplift, but
But that's not
That-
even a concern, because we can
that's not,
reevaluate
right, we
it.
can
So I think,
reevaluate.
the motion should be to approve it
If we retain ownership
of
of
the
the data.
data, yeah.
So,
Upon, like termination of the contract, if we still own the data.
okay, so the motion would be to approve retaining Civic Plus as our, social media archiving service. What would be the word?
Provided
Provided
we retain
we retain
ownership
ownership
of
of
the data if we terminate the service.
data if we terminate the service. All right, there you go. And I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor by roll call vote, please.
Greg,
Yes.
Angela, yes. Sarah?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Motion carries. That ends the new business. Moving on to public comment. I will open the floor for public comment on anything anybody wants to talk about at 9:49 at night.
Oh my
Holy smokes,
gosh.
guys. Anybody have anything to say? Anything at all? Say we're doing a bad job. Say we're doing a good job. Say you don't like me, Neil. If not, I'll close the public comments at 9:50. Board comments and announcements. Does anybody, Chris, anything you want to add or say, or?
I got nothing. Nothing fun.
Angela?
No?
Lisa?
You gonna announce the waterfront,
What? Yep.
the cleanup day? Awesome,
Anything?
thank you.
I was gonna, I don't know who did it, but, on my way home today, I noticed that the speed limit has changed to 40 miles an hour there on Shea Road in Starville. So congratulations on whoever, got
I
that
didn't get
done.
exactly what I
I-
wanted.
Wish it was
better than it
different,
was.
but, you know, and the sad part is, and I'm ashamed to say it, but I drove down there and didn't even notice.
It's only, like the area right where Starville,
Yeah.
like coming up to it.
I spent the last several weeks on the phone with the road commission, Bill Hazelton. I was, anything that we can do before they get this roundabout and to prevent one more loss of life. I'm happy that they did that. I wanted either a four-way stop, I wanted some rumble strips, I wanted something, but the reduction in the speed limit, if that's all I can get for now, I'll take it. It
Will-
may help.
will
The
that stay
community
there?
needs to abide by it. I pray to God it helps.
Will
I
it
don't
stay
know
there
if it-
if the roundabout comes? That was what I was wondering.
What's that?
Is
Will
it gonna
it
stay
that
there
way? If the
once the roundabout comes?
I would assume it's actually gonna lower once the roundabout comes, because they're gonna slow you down to 15 to go through the roundabout. The roundabout is out for bid, it should be back in 2.5 months, and then once that comes in for bid, then they'll start the project. Whether they get it done this year, I don't know. I did ask today to be on the TAC board or committee, because I was never asked, and there'll be an opening come January. And hopefully, I'll be on the TAC committee is the Township Road and Bridges Committee. And hopefully I'll get our voice in there, that some of our roads, you know, it seems like the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and Cottrellville hasn't been in there as a squeaky wheel for a long time. So, yes, that's a good thing. So, did you have anything?
No.
First, I'm excited to share a few important updates and upcoming events in our community. On Thursday, July 24th, from 6 to 8 p.m., we'll be hosting, along with Friends of the St. Clair River, the next Get It Done Day at Shoreline Park. It's a hands-on community work day focused on park improvements, shoreline care, and beautification projects. It's a great opportunity for everybody to come and roll up your sleeves, connect with other neighbors, and make a visible impact in one of our most cherished public spaces. We're still looking for volunteers, so if you're interested in helping out, again, that'll be Thursday, July 24th, between 6 and 8 p.m. Bring gloves, don't bring gloves, but we got equipment, so we're there. Next, I'm going to announce that we're hosting the first annual Hoods, Tunes, and Brews Festival, happening on Friday and Saturday, August 15th and 16th. This two-day event will feature live music, local craft brews, food trucks, and classic car showcase. It's going to be a celebration of local culture, community pride, and summer fun. Volunteers are also needed for this event, so please reach out to Sarah if you got some time to volunteer. We've got different aspects, and we're pretty excited about it. One of our newest residents, Jim Reel, the owner of Unreal Performance, is one of our major sponsors. He's very excited to be part of this community and looks forward to contributing to helping us raise funds for our Parks and Rec in the future. Noble Mutt Brewery will be providing the beer for the beer tent, small beer tent. And we got some good food trucks and some vendors popping up. Los Gringos playing Friday night, Dusk Till Dawn playing Saturday night. Finally, I'd like to share that work is underway on both our new master plan and Parks and Rec plan in partnership with McKenna. These plans will help shape the future of our community and public spaces. A community survey will be launching soon, and we'll be sharing the link to the website where residents can provide input and stay informed. Please keep an eye out for that on our township website. I'll post it on social media too, because we want to hear from as many of you guys at home as possible. And thank you. We look forward to seeing you guys at these events and hearing your input on the future of our community. With that,
Before you close it out, though, I just wanted to throw out there too about the volunteer thing. Please contact me if you've got teenagers at home, high school students that need community service hours. I would love to sign off on them. We're looking, even if you can only offer us 2 hours, 4 hours, I've got something I can put you to work doing. So just contact me. You can call the office, email me. And yes, so if you got a teenager, send them our way. We would love to have them and sign off on their hours for them, so.
Also, if we have any residents that want to participate in our vendor
Yes.
vendor section, that would be a great opportunity for you. Come set up a table, sell your wares, and contribute to our great event.
yeah, it's all the money benefits Parks and Rec. Every dime we make is from these events is going to go to Parks and Rec. It's about time we bring our community together for events like this. It's been decades. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
I'll make the motion.
Oh, sorry.
It's
Chris
getting
made the
late.
motion, I'll second.
All in favor by saying aye.
I
Aye. All opposed? Meeting adjourned.
Okay.
It is 9.